Michael Reynolds walked with confident strides through the streets of New York City, adjusting his Italian silk tie while reviewing the latest financial projections on his smartphone. Recently divorced at 35, with an MBA from Stanford and an impeccable reputation in the corporate world, he had just been named leader of a project that promised to catapult his career, the administrative modernization of one of the most important agricultural estates in California. For him, this project represented the perfect opportunity to prove his worth after the failure of his marriage. That night, while mentally preparing for his trip to California the next day, his phone vibrated with a notification. The dating app he had installed at the insistence of his friend Jason suggested a meeting with a woman who, according to the algorithm, was compatible with him. Normally, he would have ignored the notification, but something in the simplicity of that photo made him swipe right. An hour later, he had agreed to have dinner at a restaurant on Fifth Avenue. He arrived first. The restaurant, with its minimalist decor and imported wine list, was the kind of place where he usually closed important deals. He felt in his element, controlling the situation. But when she walked in, something about her presence defied all his expectations. Sarah Mitchell didn't fit the profile of women Michael usually associated with. She wore a simple embroidered cotton blouse, well-cut jeans and leather boots. Her black hair, gathered in an imperfect bun, revealed a naturally beautiful face with barely any makeup. Her eyes, the color of moist earth, seemed to evaluate everything around her with quiet curiosity. "Sorry I'm late," she said, extending her hand naturally. Traffic from Brooklyn was impossible. The conversation flowed effortlessly for the first few minutes. They talked about the weather, the city, food. Michael found himself intrigued by her simplicity, so far removed from the artificial sophistication he was accustomed to. When the waiter brought the wine, she tasted it knowingly, appreciating its notes with a precision that surprised him. "What do you do?" Michael finally asked, leaning slightly over the table. Sarah smiled before answering, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and passion. "I manage land. I work in the agricultural sector, mainly with sustainable crops and regenerative livestock farming." Michael couldn't prevent a condescending smile from forming on his lips. The mental image of this woman getting her boots muddy contradicted everything he had assumed about her. "And what's a woman like you doing among cows and corn?" he asked in a tone that tried to be light but exuded a certain superiority. "You seem too refined for that world." Sarah maintained her smile, but something changed in her eyes. "The countryside isn't just mud and animals, Michael. It's the future of our country. It's innovation, technology, sustainability." She paused, studying him. "But I understand that from the skyscrapers of Manhattan, that might seem archaic." The rest of the dinner proceeded with increasingly tense comments. Michael, unable to see beyond his urban prejudices, continued treating Sarah's passion for agriculture as if it were a quaint hobby. "It must be refreshing," he commented while paying the bill, "to have such an earthy hobby. In my world, it's all numbers, strategies, efficiency." Sarah looked at him steadily as she picked up her purse. "In my world too, except my numbers have roots." Before he could respond, she took out her wallet and left a bill on the table. "This is my share. I don't like owing anything to anyone." Ushom stood up with elegant determination. "It's been educational, Michael. I wish you luck in your projects." And with that she left, leaving behind a subtle jasmine scent and an uncomfortable feeling that Michael couldn't immediately identify. That night, while reviewing the documents for his trip to California one last time, Michael dismissed the encounter as just another failed date. "Women," he muttered to himself as he closed his Italian leather briefcase, "always so sensitive." The next morning, the flight to San Francisco was on time. Michael dozed during the journey, dreaming of ascending graphs and substantial bonuses. Upon landing, a driver held a sign with his name and his consulting firm's logo. "Welcome to California, Mr. Reynolds," the man greeted him formally. "I'll take you directly to Highland Ranch. The director is waiting for you for the introductory meeting." The journey from San Francisco to the ranch, located in the fertile lands between Napa and Sonoma, took almost 2 hours. As they moved, Away from the city, the landscape transformed into vast fields of grapevines, corn, and crops that Michael didn't recognize. His mind, however, was on the presentations he had prepared, on the strategies he would implement to optimize the operation of what he imagined as a backward rural business in need of metropolitan vision. The entrance to the ranch took him by surprise. Instead of the rustic ranch he expected, he found himself with an impressive property that combined traditional colonial architecture with modern facilities. Uniformed workers moved purposefully between administrative buildings equipped with cutting-edge technology. "Looks like someone has already started modernization," he thought, slightly annoyed. The driver led him to an elegant main building. "The director will receive you in the boardroom," he explained, as he guided him down a hallway decorated with historical photographs of the ranch and current production and sustainability charts. Michael entered the room expecting to find a conservative matron, probably the widow or daughter of some traditional rancher. What he found, however, left him momentarily speechless. Standing next to a table covered with digital maps and documents was Sarah Mitchell. Her hair now tied in a professional braid, dressed in an elegant linen blouse and practical pants, she looked at him with a mixture of amusement and challenge. "Welcome to Highland Ranch, Mr. Reynolds," she said, extending her hand. "I hope you're ready to learn that in the field, numbers always have roots." Michael's face went through such an evident succession of emotions that Sarah had to bite her lip to avoid smiling. Surprise, disbelief, embarrassment, and finally, an attempt to recover his professional composure. "Miss Mitchell, what an unexpected encounter," he managed to articulate while mechanically shaking her hand. Sarah invited him to sit with an elegant gesture. "Mr. Reynolds, allow me to formally introduce you to our management team." One by one, professionals from various areas entered: agricultural engineers, international trade specialists, biotechnologists, and agricultural finance experts. All with impressive credentials and evident respect for Sarah. During the initial presentation, Michael tried to focus on the numbers and projections, but his mind kept returning to the condescending comments he had made the night before. His original plan to dazzle with his corporate knowledge was crumbling before the sophisticated operation he faced. "As you can see," Sarah continued as she displayed holograms of the different sections of the ranch on a digital table, "we're not exactly a little farm, as you might have imagined. Highland Ranch is a leader in regenerative agriculture, certified organic production, and cutting-edge agricultural technology. What we need is not for you to teach us how to manage, but for you to adapt your urban knowledge to our rural reality." The meeting continued for 3 more hours. Each time Michael proposed a standard solution, some team member politely explained to him why those metrics worked in offices but not necessarily in fields, where variables included climate, biological cycles, and complete ecosystems. At the end, Sarah invited him to tour the facilities. "You should know our real work before trying to restructure it, don't you think?" What followed was an experience that shook the foundations of everything Michael thought he knew about business. They toured laboratories where scientists developed drought-resistant seeds without genetic modification. They visited irrigation systems controlled by artificial intelligence that optimized every drop of water. They stopped at monitoring stations, where drones transmitted real-time data on the status of each hectare. "We implemented a fair trade system directly with international markets," Sarah explained, as they passed through an ultra-modern logistics center. "We eliminate intermediaries and ensure that our workers receive fair compensation. Our labor retention rates are 97%, when the industry average is 40%. As the day progressed, Michael's attitude was imperceptibly transforming. His critical gaze softened, replaced by genuine curiosity. "How did you come to direct all this?" he finally asked, when they stopped at a lookout that offered a panoramic view of the property. Sarah contemplated the horizon before answering. "My grandfather founded this place with 10 acres and a lot of effort. My father expanded it to 100. I've taken it to 1,000, but not just in size, in vision. I studied agronomy at UC Davis and business at UCLA. Then I did a PhD in sustainable agriculture at Berkeley. I could have chosen to stay at any international corporation, but I decided to come back. This isn't just a business for me. It's a legacy and a responsibility." Michael remained silent, processing the magnitude of his error in judging her prematurely. "Your profile on the app didn't mention any of this," he finally commented. Sarah smiled. "Would you have acted differently if I had mentioned it? Sometimes it's revealing to see how people behave when they believe they have an advantage over you." The first week was an exercise in humility for Michael. His initial restructuring proposal was kindly discarded in favor of a more organic approach. "First, learn how we function," Sarah suggested. "Then you can propose changes that really add value." Each day brought new revelations. He discovered that the workers weren't simple employees, but part of an integrated community. Many lived on ranch grounds, their children studied at the school, founded by the Mitchell family, and everyone had access to medical services and continuous training. "Staff turnover is our biggest enemy," Paul, the human resources manager, explained to him. "Each trained worker we lose means months of wasted investment. That's why we treat them like family, not as disposable resources." In his second week, Sarah surprised him by assigning him an unexpected task: to work directly on the experimental planting of a new type of drought-resistant corn. "You want me to get my hands dirty?" he asked incredulously, looking at his Italian shoes. "I want you to understand what you're trying to optimize," she responded simply. "It's impossible to improve what you don't comprehend." Under the scorching California sun, Michael experienced for the first time the true meaning of agricultural work. His hands, accustomed to sliding over keyboards and spreadsheets, now blistered handling tools and seeds. His back, used to ergonomic chairs, protested after hours bent over the furrows. But something strange began to happen. Instead of resentment, he felt a satisfaction that he had rarely experienced in his corporate achievements. "There's something deeply rewarding about creating life, don't you think?" Sarah commented one afternoon as they watched the sunset together over the newly sown fields. To his surprise, Michael sincerely agreed. The third week brought the first real challenge. An international distributor threatened to cancel an important contract due to delays caused by unexpected rains. Michael's instinct was to offer discounts and accelerated delivery commitments. "That's the urban response," Sarah observed. "Sacrifice margin and risk quality to keep the customer." But in agriculture, there's another way. Instead of yielding to pressure, Sarah personally invited the distributor's representative to visit the ranch. For 3 days, they hosted him in the main house, showing him the complete process from planting to packaging. They explained how sustainable practices guaranteed a superior product in the long term, although they occasionally suffered from the whims of the weather. "If you're looking for artificial consistency, there are many suppliers who use chemicals and force natural cycles," Sarah told him during the farewell dinner. "We offer something different: integrity and true sustainability." To Michael's amazement, they not only kept the contract, but the distributor increased their order and offered better terms. "Transparency generates trust," Sarah explained as they toasted to success. "And trust is worth more than any temporary discount." That night, contemplating the stars from his room at the ranch, Michael realized he was experiencing a profound transformation. The woman he had belittled at that first dinner wasn't just his boss and client, but a leader whose vision challenged everything he had learned in his years of consulting. The following weeks only deepened this revelation. He observed how Sarah handled crises, negotiations, and strategic decisions with a mixture of intuition and analysis that he had rarely witnessed in urban executives. She not only knew every technical aspect of the operation, but maintained personal relationships with each family that worked on the ranch. "My grandfather used to say that a good boss knows the machines, but a great boss knows the people who operate them," she told him during a tour of the vineyard fields. "Technology is replaceable. Loyal people are not." The decisive moment came when the consulting firm's headquarters contacted Michael to evaluate his progress. The report they had expected, full of centralization and cutback recommendations, never arrived. Instead, Michael presented a detailed analysis of how the ranch's decentralized and sustainability-focused administrative model could be applied to other urban corporate clients. "We're learning more from them than they are from us," he admitted to his superior, something unthinkable weeks ago. This place operates with principles that we could export to our traditional clients. The central office of the consulting firm in New York received Michael's report with initial skepticism. "Are you suggesting that we adopt agrarian practices for our urban clients?" questioned John Wilkins, the executive director, during a video call. Michael, seated in his temporary office at the ranch, nodded with a confidence that surprised even Sarah, who was discreetly observing from a corner. "I'm not talking about planting corn in boardrooms," Michael responded with a smile. "I'm talking about principles, genuine sustainability, investment in human capital, long-term vision and adaptability to uncontrollable external factors. Highland Ranch has developed a business ecosystem that our corporate clients are trying to artificially replicate with consultants like us." Michael's presentation continued for almost an hour. He presented comparative data between the sustained profitability of the ranch during the last 3 decades and the volatility of similar-sized urban companies. He explained how Sarah's model integrated cutting-edge technology without sacrificing traditional knowledge, creating a balance that many technology companies desperately sought. "What I propose," he concluded, "is a pilot project where we apply these principles adapted to 3 of our clients most open to innovation. It's no coincidence that the most successful companies in the world are adopting organic structures similar to those I've found here." There was a long silence on the other side of the screen. Finally, Wilkins spoke. "You have 2 months to demonstrate concrete results. If this works, it could become our new line of services." When the call ended, Sarah approached Michael. "Impressive," she commented. "You've gone from wanting to teach us how to manage to wanting to take our philosophy to the urban world." Michael remained silent for a moment, contemplating the fields that stretched outside his window. "What you've taught me in these weeks is worth more than my entire MBA," he finally admitted, "and I'm just beginning to understand it." That afternoon, Sarah invited him to a special meeting in the community area of the ranch. To his surprise, it was the inauguration of a technological educational center for the children of workers and young people from nearby communities. "This is our true legacy," she explained as they toured facilities equipped with computers, laboratories, and modern classrooms. "We don't just produce food, we produce opportunities." Among the attendees was Emily, a 16-year-old girl whose father had worked in the vineyard fields for more than 20 years. With pride, she showed Michael the prototype of a smart irrigation system she had developed combining Arduino technology with traditional agricultural knowledge. "Mrs. Sarah gave me a full scholarship," the young woman explained. "When I finish college, I'll come back to implement more projects here." Michael observed the interaction between Sarah and the young people. It wasn't the typical relationship between an executive and beneficiaries. There was a genuine bond, a mutual commitment that transcended simple corporate philanthropy. "This isn't social responsibility to improve our image," Sarah explained later as they shared dinner under the stars in the central courtyard. "It's our reason for existing." In the following days, Michael immersed himself in the preparation of the pilot project. With the help of Sarah's team, he developed an adaptive model that translated the ranch's practices to urban contexts. "We can't transplant everything," he admitted during a working session with the management team, "but we can extract the essence. The circular vision where each decision considers its effects decades away, not just in the next quarter." The first test of his new perspective came when a conflict erupted between 2 departments of the ranch. The production team wanted to advance the harvest of an experimental crop to meet an important order, while the research department insisted on waiting to obtain complete cycle data. In his old mindset, Michael would have prioritized immediate income. Now he facilitated a conversation where both parties could find a solution that respected both commercial and scientific needs. "You've internalized our approach faster than I expected," Sarah observed after the meeting. "You're learning to see complete systems, not just isolated parts." As the weeks passed, the relationship between them evolved from a tense professional dynamic to an association based on mutual respect. They shared lunches where they discussed everything from agricultural policy to American literature. During these moments, Michael discovered that Sarah wasn't just a brilliant businesswoman, but a person with deep convictions and a vision that went beyond personal success. One afternoon, while touring a recently reforested area at the property's boundary, Michael dared to ask, "Why did you agree to hire us? It's evident that you didn't need our advice." Sarah contemplated the young trees before answering, "Because sometimes we need external perspectives that question our methods, even when we think we have all the answers. Pride is as dangerous in the countryside as it is in the city," she added with a smile. "Besides, I recognized your name when it appeared on the dating app. It was a coincidence I couldn't resist." Michael laughed, shaking his head. "You set me a perfect trap." "I prefer to call it an educational opportunity," she responded with a mischievous gleam in her eyes. The pilot project advanced with promising results. A technology company in Austin, a manufacturer in Denver, and a commercial chain in the capital began implementing adapted versions of the Highland model. Preliminary reports showed improvements in talent retention, operational sustainability, and community relations. When the 2-month deadline was approaching its end, the consulting firm's headquarters organized a formal presentation of results. To Michael's surprise, Sarah insisted on accompanying him to New York. "This project is as much yours as it is mine now," she explained. "Besides, I want to see the look on your bosses' faces when they understand that a simple country girl is teaching them how to run urban businesses." The presentation was a resounding success. With concrete data and testimonials from the pilot, clients Michael and Sarah demonstrated how the Highland philosophy could be translated into tangible competitive advantages for conventional companies. At the end, John Wilkins not only approved the continuation of the project, but proposed creating a new division specialized in integrated sustainable models with Michael as director. The subsequent celebration was intimate. A dinner at the EGE, same restaurant where they had had their disastrous first meeting. "Life has an interesting sense of humor," Sarah commented as they toasted. "Of all the possible dating apps, of all the available consulting firms," continued Michael. Their gazes met for a moment, loaded with possibilities. "I never asked you something fundamental," Michael finally said. "Why were you on that app in the first place? You don't seem like the type of person who needs help meeting people." Sarah gently swirled her glass before answering. "Maybe I was looking for someone who would challenge me, who would come from a completely different world than mine. Someone who would make me question my own certainties." She paused. "Or maybe I was just curious to see what kind of men frequent these platforms." Michael laughed. "And you got the worst example possible." "On the contrary," she responded with a genuine smile. "I got someone capable of recognizing their mistakes and transforming. That's more valuable than any perfect first impression." 3 months later, Highland Ranch was inaugurating its Agro-Industrial Innovation Center, a space where urban entrepreneurs could learn directly from rural experience. Michael, now a permanent consultant to the ranch in addition to directing the new division in his company, cut the ribbon alongside Sarah. "This center symbolizes what we have learned together," she declared to those present. "That true progress is not found in imposing urban models on the countryside, nor in romanticizing the rural, but in creating bridges of understanding and mutual respect." That night, under the same starry sky that had witnessed his transformation, Michael took Sarah's hand as they contemplated the fields that now represented for him much more than a professional project. "You know what's most ironic?" he reflected. "I came to teach you efficiency and ended up learning about life." Sarah smiled, intertwining her fingers with his. "Perhaps that's the most important lesson, that sometimes what we most need to learn is precisely what we believed we could teach." And so among the furrows of corn and the vineyard fields, under the infinite California sky, 2 worlds that seemed irreconcilable found not just a meeting point, but a common future where the best of each could flourish alongside the other. The ranch that he had belittled became the setting for his greatest growth, and the woman he had underestimated at a casual dinner transformed into the companion who would show him that true success is not measured in spreadsheets and graphs, but in deep roots and broad horizons. Dear listeners, we hope that Michael and Sarah's story has moved you and perhaps transformed you a little like our protagonist. To continue this journey of discoveries and personal renewals, we have prepared a special collection of stories that explore how unexpected encounters can change our lives. Find it by clicking on the link to your left. If this narrative about the value of mutual respect and continuous learning touched your hearts, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Each week, we bring unique stories that celebrate the diversity of human experiences and the lessons we learn from each other. Has it ever happened to you that you underestimated someone and later discovered a valuable lesson? Tell us your experiences in the comments. Your next great revelation could be waiting in our next story.